My name is Miss Ann, and I am Youth Services Librarian at the Warminster Township Free Library. And welcome back to our third and final video for our Hands-on Health Literacy series. Today, we're going to be talking about heart healthiness and how we can keep our hearts healthy and strong. So let's get started with the book. The book that we're going to be reading today is called Hear Your Heart by Paul Showers and illustrated by Holly Keller. And so on the cover we have two children, and this one has something special that they're using to listen to the heart. Do you guys know what that's called? Yes, a stethoscope. So hear your heart. Here we go. When I visit the doctor, he listens to my heart with a stethoscope. The stethoscope is cold and it makes me shiver. I like my stethoscope much better. It isn't cold. My stethoscope is a cardboard tube. That's a clever idea. And my sister Lisa has one too. We save tubes and turn them into stethoscopes. Sometimes they are tubes from old rolls of paper towels. Sometimes they are tubes from old toilet paper rolls. Any kind of cardboard tube will do. This is how you listen to someone's heart. Ask a friend to find the heartbeat on the left side of her chest. Put one end of your tube on this spot. Now put your ear at the other end. So this is something you can do at home on top of the experiment we're going to be doing in a little bit. So if you have those little cardboard tubes, maybe from a paper towels or some toilet paper rolls, you can do this at home. We listen to our friends' hearts and they listen to ours. Phil's heart beats like this. Pum, 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 pum. And Molly's heart beats the same way. So does mine. So does Lisa's. So that's kind of what it sounds like when you listen to a heart. Dad's heart is a little slower. It beats like this. Ka-dum, 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 ka-dum. And Andrew is only 11 months old, and Mom holds him so we can listen to his heart. Andrew's heart has a very quick beat. It goes tuppa, 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 tuppa. So it sounds a little different when you're bigger or when you're smaller. Put your hand on your chest. Can you feel your heart? So can you feel your heart? And if you can't, just move it a little bit and see if you can find your heartbeat. Your heart is about as big as your fist. So make a fist. That's how big your heart is. As you get bigger, it's going to get bigger. It doesn't look like a heart on a Valentine. It is shaped more like a pear. Your heart has tubes attached to it, and when your heart beats, it moves blood through your body. So it's moving or circulating that blood throughout your body. Your heart is full of blood. When it beats, it squeezes itself together, and then when the heart, that's when the heart contracts. Blood squirts out into some of the tubes. Then your heart stops squeezing and opens again. Like that. And that's when the heart expands. Blood flows into it through other tubes, and blood flows away from your heart in tubes called arteries. Blood flows into your heart in tubes called veins. So in this picture, the arteries are colored red and the veins are black. So when blood's flowing away from your heart and towards other vital organs and things that it needs that blood for, so that's going to go away, and then the veins come back. So arteries are red and the veins are black. Your heart is a strong muscle. Night and day it squeezes, opens, squeezes, opens. It is always beating. A heart is divided into two valves, and each half has several veins and one artery attached to it. Each half has two little doors in it. These doors are called valves. In this drawing, the valves to the arteries are colored red. The valves from the veins are black. I'll show you guys that. All day long and all night long, these valves open, and close. And when the black valves open, the red valves close. When the red valve opens, the black valves close. The valves keep the blood moving in the right direction, so you don't want the blood to go backwards. And sometimes they call that a big word called regurgitation. You don't want that. You want it to go in the right direction, in from the veins and out through the arteries. So in through the veins and out through the arteries. When a heart beats, each half works the same way. First, blood comes in through the veins, in from the big veins at the top of the heart, and the black valves are open. Blood flows into the heart. Then the heart contracts and pushes the blood, and the black valves close, the red valves open, and blood cannot flow back into the veins. It can only flow out through the arteries. So it's a complicated system to make sure that the blood goes where it's supposed to go. Big arteries spread out from your heart. They go to your arms and legs and head. Smaller arteries branch out from the big ones. They branch out to the top of your head, to the tips of your fingers. Where are your fingers? Yeah. To even the tips of your toes, to every part of your body. So they go everywhere. We call this the circulatory system because blood is circulating or moving around throughout your body. When blood reaches the very small arteries, it passes into tiny veins. And the tiny veins run into bigger and bigger veins that carry the blood back to your heart. So those arteries go, and eventually it goes through and goes back through the veins so that it can go back into the heart again. So touch your wrist just below your thumb, just like this little boy is doing, and press gently with your fingertips. Do you feel something push against your fingers? Push, push, push. You are feeling a small artery in your wrist. Your heart is pushing blood through it. Beat, push, beat, push, push. This is your pulse. You can only feel your pulse in an artery. You can see your veins, but you cannot feel a pulse in them. Another vein is right around your neck here, so you can feel around until you feel a pulsing sensation. Your pulse tells you how fast your heart is beating, and maybe your doctors will, test that to make sure that your heart is healthy. How fast is your heart beating right now as you read this book? Get a watch with a second hand and count your pulse. How many times does your heart beat in 1 minute? And that's something lots and lots of doctors do. A man's heart beats about 72 times a minute. Ka-dump, 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 ka-dump. An 8-year-old's heart beats about 90 times a minute. Pum, 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 pum. And a baby's heart beats more than 120 times a minute. Tuppa, 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 tuppa. So when you're smaller, it beats a lot quicker, right? So baby is 120, a young child is about 90, and then an adult 72 times. Sometimes it goes a little faster, sometimes a little slower, so it really depends on the person. Your heart beats faster when you exercise, so try this and see for yourself. Hop up and down on 1 foot 20 times. Now find your pulse. Use your watch to count your pulse and how fast is your heart beating now. So it's going to beat a little bit faster when you exercise. Your heart beats faster when you run or jump. When you sleep, it beats much slower. Sometimes when you take deep breaths and try to calm yourself, some people can make, their pulse go down. Make it go slower. Oh, what animal do we have here? We've got some animals. We've got an elephant. A big animal's heart beats more slowly than a little animal's heart. An elephant's heart beats only 20 to 25 times a minute, whereas a mouse's heart beats more than 500 times a minute. Lisa has a parakeet named Clarence. When we hold him gently, we can feel his heart beating. Pat, 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 pat. It beats so fast, we can't keep count. So the smaller the animal, and that kind of goes for kids too, the smaller the child, maybe the faster the heartbeat. Your heart works all the time. No other part of your body works as hard. Your hand is strong, but not as strong as your heart. So try this. Open your hand, close it into a fist, open it and close it, how long before your hand gets tired? Yeah, so if you kept doing this, I feel like your hand might get a little tired at some point. I don't think I could do it for that long. But your heart is doing that over and over again throughout your entire body, and throughout your life. It's doing it all the time. 72 times a minute if you're an adult. Your heart never gets tired. And when you are awake, when you are asleep, your heart keeps moving blood through your body. So your heart is very important. All right, and that's the end of our story, Hear Your Heart by Paul Showers. So we learned a lot about our heart, and in a moment, we'll come back with a very special guest who will be able to answer some of my questions. After reading our story, I feel like we learned a lot about heart healthiness, but I still have a few questions. So, let's welcome back Dr. Duffy. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Duffy.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to be back.
So my first question is, why is the heart so important?
Well, so our body needs something called oxygen, which is a part of the air that we breathe.
Oh.
And our heart pumps our blood, which carries this oxygen from the air that we breathe and brings it to the rest of our body.
But how does that all work?
Well, so the heart is a series of two pumps. One pump pumps blood to the lungs to grab the oxygen from the air that we breathe, and then the second pump will pump the blood that's carrying all of this oxygen to the rest of our body.
Oh. Well, is there anything that we can do to keep our hearts healthy?
Definitely. So some of the things that we can do are eating a balanced diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables, as well as making sure that we do plenty of physical activity and exercise, at least an hour a day.
Physical activity? What counts as physical activity?
Walking, playing outside, running around, having a good time, all of those things.
Got it. So if we have lots of kids that are watching, recess, would that count?
Oh, definitely. Recess definitely counts as physical activity.
Oh, awesome. Now, what would happen if we didn't take care of our bodies by exercising and eating right?
Well, that's a really good question. So, over time, if we don't take care of ourselves, little clogs could form in the heart or in the blood vessels themselves. These are called plaques. And these can keep the blood from going everywhere that it needs to go throughout the body.
Oh, so that's very important to eat right and to exercise.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions, Dr. Duffy. Do you have time to stick around to work on our heart demo?
You're very welcome. And yes, I do have time. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. For our heart healthy activity today, we're going to be making a demo heart. But first, let's go over some of the supplies. If you picked up a kit here at the Warminster Library, your kit will include one mason jar and some dye. In your kits, your dye may be inside the mason jar, so let's take a look. Your kit will also include some straws. I believe you guys will have 4 straws, though you only need 2 to complete this activity. You will also have some rubber bands, a small balloon, and a large balloon. Again, you'll have more than one of these in your kits so that you can complete this activity more than once. And last but not least, it'll come with a plastic plate to collect some of the things that might be shooting out of the heart. You'll see why in a second. And what you'll need to provide is water. Okay, so step 1, clear your plate. You need that one to be completely clear. Ta-da. And now add your mason jar to the center. The lid, you don't need the lid for this one. Okay. All right, Dr. Duffy, can you add a little bit of dye to our mason jar? Just a couple of drops is all you'll need. Excellent. So now you're going to take that water with parental supervision. Just add some water to your mason jar. It's blue. So right now we're going to be using blue liquid that's going to be representing our blood. All right. So now we're going to move on to probably the hardest step. You're going to take your large balloon. You're going to need to cut a little bit off the edge. You want to be able to stretch it over your mason jar. It is a little tricky, so if you struggle, ask your mom or your dad to help you. So, scissors, and we just cut the little ends off. All right, so this one, you just want to stretch it, and maybe have a helper hold down your mason jar. All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Duffy.
You're welcome.
Again, it is the hardest part is to just get it on there so you don't want to spill anything. So I got it a little bit, but as you can see, I need to smooth it out. So this one, now you just smooth it out. You just pinch it and roll it over. Pinch it and roll it over. You want it to be quite taut, which means very taut, which is pulled across the entirety of it. There we go. And you just keep smoothing it out until it kind of looks like that. It's okay if it has a little bit of a bubble. And you can also roll it down. All right. I think we're almost there. Good. I think that's good. What do you think, Dr. Duffy?
Let's just get this edge down a little bit.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's always good to have a helper. Perfect. So now we have our mason jar filled with all the blood. And we have what is going to be the vessel, which is our heart. But you mentioned when we were talking in our discussion, how many pumps are there?
There are 2 pumps.
Ah, and where do they go?
Well, so one pump pumps blood to the lungs,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second pump is going to pump the blood that went to the lungs originally and pump it instead to the rest of the body.
Got it. So that's where we have our straws. 2 straws. Again, your kit's going to come with more than 2. So in that case, you can do this more than once. You will find that once you've placed on the large balloon, it's only good for a couple of tries, as I tested them out ahead of time. But you can definitely do it more than once with the supplies we've provided. All right, so now we're just opening these. Okay, we got our 2 straws. Excellent. So you're going to take your 2 straws, and you're going to want to cut them in half. We don't want them to be too long. So I'm going to cut mine in half. We want them to be about that big. Now, some of you guys might have gotten flexi straws, because I made sure to provide some flexi straws for this. If you have flexi straws, you will cut the straight bottom off of them. So that way the flex will kind of pull into our receptacle here. So now I'm going to put these off to the side, and we have our 2. Excellent. So now I will give the scissors to Dr. Duffy. In a second, we're going to create 2 puncture wounds. That way we can put our pump together. Before we do that, you mentioned one of these goes to the lungs, and that's where this little one goes to. So we're going to just take our rubber band and just secure it. That's going to represent our blood going to, there we go, going to the lungs. So that's what this one's doing. And just get it on there as much as you can. Boom. Okay, so we have, this is going to everywhere else, and then this is going to the lungs. We'll put it off to the side. So now you're going to create just 2 little punctures, which is just tiny little holes with your scissors. 1, 2. Okay, and we're going to take it off to the side because you'll see why in a second. And now you're going to just put your pump in there. and you're going to take the other one and put it to the other side. You can make them a little longer if you'd like. I've done it either way. And then we press. Wow!
Should we do it on top of the plate?
I think we should. Well, if you had the flexi straw, it can go pretty far. Whoa! Be careful of splashes like we got over here. But that is why you want to put it very close to, if you have the flexi straw, just look at where the trajectory is going, which is where it might shoot out, and where it might splash. So you mentioned earlier in our discussion that what happens when we don't take care of our bodies?
Well, if we don't take care of our bodies, sometimes little clogs can form in around the heart or in the blood vessels themselves. Those are called plaques.
Oh no. Well, do we have anything here that we could use for plaque?
Well, so we do happen to have some Play-Doh that we can use to simulate or make pretend a small blockage or a small clog or a small plaque.
Perfect.
Got in to one of our pumps.
So we could put that right there. And in your kits came with a little piece of clay, and that's why. So you can put it on there. And so before we continue pressing on our heart and creating that pump, let's ask, what do you think is going to happen? Now we've put our Play-Doh right here on the edge. What do you think is going to happen?
Now that we have our plaque set up on one of our pumps, let's see what difference it makes.
Oh, wow. You might not be able to see it, but some of it is coming out, but very, very little.
You can see that the blue, or the blood, is trying to get up past the plug, but it really can't.
And that would mean that oxygenated blood can't get to the rest of your body.
And that is not good.
Not good at all.
So here are some tips and tricks to kind of get you started. If your demo heart stops working, let's say you're continuing to press down at the center and nothing's coming up, that might mean that the large balloon needs to be switched with another large balloon. So you only get a couple of tries on this. That's why we're going to give you more than one of these large balloons. Once your balloon is over the mason jar, cut the 2 holes for the straws pretty small. You only need just a tiny little snip. The smaller you do it, the more tries you'll get with the large balloon. You can do this outside and forego the plastic plate. And since we're using a dye, just reminder to wear a smock or an oversized t-shirt because the dye can and may stain hands and clothes.
And that concludes our Heart Healthy demo. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Dr. Duffy, for being here and answering all of our questions.
You're very welcome.
We hope that you guys have a happy and healthy summer. And as always, we hope to see you very soon at the Warminster Township Free Library. Bye, everyone.
Bye.